Hey everybody, it's Troy. Hey, listen, it looks like former President MAGA leader Donald Trump is trying to stir up another insurrection, more violence, potentially even a civil war. Before I even get to that, let's get a little bit of backstory in here about what's going on in Texas at the southern border of the United States. On Monday, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that Texas had to remove wire fencing and these awful border buoys that they were using in the Rio Grande with blades, all this dangerous stuff that they had used as barriers to keep migrants from crossing the southern border. And the reason they did that was actually at the request of the federal government, at the request of the Biden administration, who made the argument that it is Custom and Border Patrol's job to help these migrants across the border if they are turning themselves in seeking asylum. Seeking asylum in the United States is not illegal, and that's part of Border Patrol's job, is to make sure these people are safe and they're not dying in the Rio Grande River. Well, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas and his border fence and his sharp buoy objects that he had in the water were making that challenging. We had 3 migrants drowned in the Rio Grande. Supreme Court ordered Texas to remove the barriers on the southern border so that Border Patrol could do its job. But then we had Republican Governor Greg Abbott of Texas predictably defy the Supreme Court's order to remove the wire from the border. In fact, they're adding more wire now. Abbott deployed the Texas National Guard to install more border fencing in direct defiance of the Supreme Court's order. And now we have 25 other state governors committing, saying they'll commit their National Guard troops to helping Texas's effort defy the federal government, defy the Supreme Court in their order, and deploy National Guard troops to the border. Dan Patrick was on Laura Ingram's program on the Fox News Network last night, and he talked a little bit about Texas's mindset. Take a listen.
Is Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Governor, I've already gotten text messages from people who are concerned, and hearing that this is just what Biden wants. He wants something to trigger something that will end up, ending up in some type of violence involving states versus the federal government. Are you concerned about that, given how this is changing?
I'm not concerned, Laura. The biggest mistake the Biden administration could make would be confronting law enforcement or our military, our National Guard, at our border, at this park, when we're actually doing the job that the American people want. So if they come down and create a situation, all of America already knows now, they will clearly see that the Democrats are willing to take on a state that is operating under our constitutional right to protect our people and protect this country. I don't think even Biden will make that mistake. We're not looking for a confrontation. We're looking for them to do their damn job. And also, let me say something about this Border Patrol. Border Patrol works with us, the rank and file, every day. We work together like this. It's Joe Biden that wants to come in and split us apart. He wants this for what reason? We're doing the job at the state park. They have no reason to be there. They've got 1,200 miles to cover. We're doing the job. They're trying to make this a fight. We're trying to protect our border. We're trying to protect American lives and Texas lives. That's what we're trying to do. And he's trying to turn into a political battle and turn into a fight with our state. Well, don't mess with Texas.
Donald Trump, of course, had to lend his voice of support to Abbott and the Republican governors committing to send National Guard troops to the border. He said in a post on Truth Social, he said, quote, "We encourage all willing states to deploy their guards to Texas to prevent the entry of illegals and to remove them back across the border. All Americans should support the common sense measures by Texas authorities to protect the safety, security, and sovereignty of Texas and of the American people. And when I am president on day one, instead of fighting Texas, I will work hand in hand with Governor Abbott and other border states to stop the invasion, seal the border, and rapidly begin the largest domestic deportation operation in history. Those Biden has let in should not get comfortable because they will be going home." Well, the language that they use there is interesting. It's very intentional when they call this an invasion. That is invoking Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, which gives states the authority to repel invasions of their states on their own without the federal government. In fact, Governor Abbott has directly invoked that clause in the United States Constitution. He said, quote, the Biden administration's failure to protect each state against invasion, again, there's that word again, invasion, has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state this right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. Now, that is a very bold statement for Governor Abbott to make. He's essentially defying the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, stating that the federal government has ultimate authority over the states in these matters. He's also providing a very loose interpretation, very out of context interpretation for that clause in Article 1 of the Constitution. Let's read Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution. It says, no state shall, among other things, engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. And that is why they keep using this invasion language. If it's not an invasion, if it's just an influx of migrants coming across the border that either the Texas authorities or the Border Patrol cannot handle, that's not technically an invasion. That's just too many migrants at our southern border. That's an immigration problem. That's a border control problem. That's not technically an invasion as understood by the founders in the United States Constitution. So by calling it invasion, they are justifying activating their National Guards and moving forward with efforts at war, despite the federal government telling them to stand down. Abbott is trying to make the case here that because Biden won't repel an invasion with the United States Army, with the United States military, that he has abdicated his responsibilities as commander-in-chief, and therefore responsibility for defending Texas falls to Abbott himself as governor in his authority over the Texas National Guard. The problem is Abbott can't just do that. The governor of Texas does not have ultimate authority over the United States military, of which even the Texas National Guard is part of the United States military, ultimately answering to the President of the United States. And in fact, President Biden has the authority constitutionally to overrule Greg Abbott's authority over the Texas National Guard. Also, that clause of the Constitution was written in a time when the federal military, the federal army, was very, very small and not easily deployed. It could take weeks to months to deploy the United States Army if the country was invaded by a foreign power. Congress rarely met. Congress may not have been in session to formally declare war, to authorize the President of the United States to deploy federal troops. So this clause in the Constitution enables states to use their National Guard troops to repel a foreign invasion, an invasion of a foreign military invading the United States, invading their territory, using their National Guard troops to defend their state militias, essentially, in the constitutional sense, to repel the foreign invasion until the federal troops arrive. At such time, the federal troops would take control and ultimately repel the invasion. That is the point of that clause. It's not relevant in the 21st century when the United States military can immediately respond to the threat of a foreign power invading the sovereign soil of the United States. We don't need the Texas National Guard to repel a foreign invader. We have the United States military that's more than capable of doing that. Moreover, this is not an invasion by a military of a foreign power. This is an influx of migrants. This is border crossings and ports of entry becoming overwhelmed because too many people are seeking asylum. Not exactly an invasion by a foreign power as the founders would have understood it when they wrote this clause in the Constitution. So Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and of course, MAGA leader Donald Trump priming the Republican Party, priming the MAGA base for some kind of conflict with the Biden administration, with the federal government. Right-wing Twitter getting really excited that Biden may send in the troops to take over the situation, maybe even lead to a fight between the United States military and the National Guard, the Texas National Guard, and maybe some of these other states that are sending their National Guard troops, that might actually trigger the Civil War or some kind of uprising. It's a horrifying state of mind, but that is the society that these people live in. That is the mindset that these people live in, constantly wanting and promoting some kind of an insurrection, some kind of a civil war. It's not going to happen. Biden is not going to take that bait. There's not going to be any conflicts between the United States Army, the United States military, and the state of Texas. It's not going to happen. Biden will exercise any legal means of authority to enforce the Supreme Court's ruling. And Donald Trump is once again stirring the pot of his potentially violent base to act against the government of the United States while Biden is in charge. For MeidasTouch, this is Troy. Remember, smash that subscribe button to keep supporting independent media. Head on over to MeidasTouch.com for this and all the other breaking news of the day. And thanks everybody so much for 2 million subscribers to the MeidasTouch YouTube page. Thanks everybody. Thank you, Meidas Mighty, for your support. We love you guys. See everybody soon.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.